NFL Draft is come and gone, and pleased to be joined here by Nick Eatman, covers the Dallas Cowboys, has done so for the team's website last couple decades. I'm Adam Kaufman, and Nick, all of our chats going back, many weeks, months even, it's been, who do the Cowboys need in the draft? Just general, overarching theme, and you've always said a BA, a badass, that's what they need. And some of the names you threw out to me last time that we chatted, the corners, clearly, J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, or Micah Parsons, the linebacker. As it turned out, with that first pick, the Cowboys traded down from 10 to 12, got Parsons after both corners were off the board. As it stands right now, Parsons is the favorite on the DK Sportsbook to be the defensive rookie of the year at plus 400. Good fit for him? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's a good fit for him, and I think he's a good fit for the defense. I think he fits the BA mantra well. I mean, if you just look at his tape, he's off the charts really when it comes to getting to the football, and he's really tough to block. I mean, I understand you're not going to be facing some of those teams in the NFL. That's the case for everybody, but he's hard to block. He gets to the ball, and he makes an impact when he's there. So yeah, I think he's a good fit for the team. And I think, like you said, for Micah Parsons, I think it's a good fit. Linebacker was a sneaky need. Not really sneaky. I think it was a sneaky number one need. When you look at all the players and just the uncertainty in the future of what was going to happen with Leighton Vander Esch, which we have some news the news that went down Monday for that. And then, and Jalen Smith, I just think uncertainty wise, you had to shore up that, and they did so with Micah Parsons and then another linebacker later on.
Was there, I know that the team obviously ultimately did grab a corner, but was there disappointment in those top corners coming off the board before Dallas picked, or was Parsons ultimately just a good pick, more than obviously a consolation prize?
Depends on who's saying it and where are you saying it. Are you saying it in the press conference that introduces Micah Parsons and his family? It's like, we love this guy. And to be fair, and I was told this the day before the draft. This isn't just speak that they say the night of the draft. The day before the draft, I was told that they have Parsons rated higher than both corners, but they'll probably look at the corner if they're all the guys who are there. And they didn't expect to get wiped out with those two. I think they would have taken one. So to answer your question, I think it's both. I mean, I really do. I think that they wanted the corners. They thought that was a better position for this whole draft. You don't always just look at, well, who's better right up here. You also look at the whole position and you're like, yeah, it doesn't drop off as drastic at corner or a linebacker as it does at corner. So even though it's close, let's get the corner now. I mean, that was their plan. Didn't work out. They traded down. They picked up another third-round pick, and guess what? Parsons is still there at 12. Let's go, get him in here because we certainly need it, and then we'll, try to get a corner later, and they did. They got two corners later on.
Nick, Cowboys allowed 473 points last year. Not to remind you, I know you saw all of them, and it was disappointing, but that was a franchise record, and so it probably shouldn't have come as a shock when the team went out and the first 6 draft picks of the 11 were on the defensive side of the ball, 8 of the 11 overall. But even still, we have never seen something like this from Jerry Jones. We really haven't seen it from hardly any NFL team in history. So were you at all surprised with the approach, the clear emphasis on defense?
Not surprised with the approach, but surprised with the overall results that it was that drastic. I mean, I really thought that at some point, a third round, fourth round, they would take, a receiver or offensive lineman or something. And it's not like they didn't think that way. I mean, I know in the third round, they were going to take a wide receiver. And he went a few picks before them, and they ended up getting a pass rusher, and then the offensive line was on the table at some point in the early fourth, but they went with the linebacker. So, it wasn't like they had to go 6 in a row, but, they definitely, clearly wanted to emphasize the defensive side of the ball, and they did.
Do you have a favorite pick in the bunch? I know Jabril Cox getting a lot of attention for his value there in round 4.
Yes. He's a 6th-round pick, Kentucky. Quentin Bohanna. It's my favorite pick in the draft. It's a type of player I've been asking for for almost 10 years. Big, nasty, almost sloppy, just hard to move. Can't get him off the ball. He's not going to go that way. He's not going to go north for you too much, but he's not going to go south. You're not going to move him off the ball. He's going to clog it up. And even though he's a 6th-round pick, I think he plays quickly. I think he contributes right away because there's nobody that does kind of what he does. Nobody looks like him, in the 6'4", 330 range. I love that pick. I wanted that pick in the 4th round. They had a 4th-round grade on him. And so, and maybe selfishly, when we do our 7-round mock drafts for right before the day before the draft, and we list all the players hoping to get it right, he was the only guy that I had right. So maybe selfishly, that is my favorite pick. Either way, I love the pick.
I was Googling around and just, your very basic Google search, like, 2021 NFL team draft grades, and see what articles pop up and all the different outlets that you would expect. And I looked at a half dozen or so articles and zeroed in on the Cowboys. As you typically see, there was a range there. I mean, anything from giving the Cowboys an A- overall down to like a C-. And it just depended where you read. And naturally, there were some guys that were picked out as reaches. There was certainly some character concerns surrounding some of the picks. And if I'm correct, I believe it was Stephen Jones kind of asked about some of the approach. And he said, sometimes they're right, sometimes you're right. What should our overall thoughts be on this draft right now, even though admittedly we're not going to know for a few years how it actually pans out?
And that's why, and here's the thing, let me preface by saying I also did the exact same thing. But let me preface by saying before that, grades are dumb. Draft grades are stupid. They're stupid unless you're looking at the 2018 draft, grades. Give me those grades, because now it's time to actually see what the guys did. I don't know if I've said this to you the last week. Anthony Hitchens. Do you remember Anthony Hitchens, linebacker? He went to the Chiefs, and he's won, a Super Bowl there. But he's a guy I always think about when I think about the draft and what, you're grading guys. Mel Kiper or Todd McShay had him as a 7th-round player, and the Cowboys took him in the 4th round back in 2014. And everyone was kind of killing the Cowboys for why you reaching on this linebacker, but they had a specific need of what they thought he could do to this defense. He got 100 tackles as a rookie. And so when you're looking at grades, the Kuipers and McShays of the world, all those guys have to evaluate players for every scheme. The Cowboys are grading them for their scheme. And so therefore they're going to have a guy for a 3rd-round grade when somebody else maybe didn't even have him on their board. And so that's why it's so tough for this national writer to say, usually when you look at guys that got an A, it's the guys that got that 4th-round player that you've heard of. Oh, they got him in the 4th. I saw him at Alabama. That doesn't mean he's good. That doesn't mean he can play. So I think grades usually go to the big name players that we've kind of heard of. And I think it takes 2 or 3 years to figure it out. I mean, they drafted for what they needed. And so it's going to be hard to just determine what they did.
So that in mind, in the short term here, how influential, how impactful can this rookie class be, particularly obviously defensive players under, one, having to come in and truly make a difference, or at least do something after what we saw last year, but also obviously coupled with the arrival of new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn?
Well, I think that's the key. That's kind of what I was talking about. We don't really know exactly what Dan Quinn's going to ask them to do. We know with what he did in Seattle. We know with what he did in Atlanta. And so, we got to meet with him just the other day. So to answer your question, I think that he's got specifics, roles in mind for these players. And I think, Dan Quinn was a huge part of that draft and that draft room when they're going to take 8 guys for him. And so one thing was very clear is that you need to be big. You need to be on the bigger side of that position. If it's a linebacker, want a big linebacker. These guys are 6'3", 6'2.5", 6'4", cornerbacks 6'3" and 6'4". I mean, they don't have 5'9" cornerback. I mean, they're Asante Samuel Jr. That's a player we all know. We've heard about him. We watched his dad play. Florida State. Cowboys weren't interested in him. You know, and a lot of fans on Friday like, "Ooh, are we going to get Asante Samuel?" I was like, "No, he's 5'9". That's not what they want. They took an Oregon State kid at 6'4". You know, so size was a big part of what they were looking for on defense.
Well, unfortunately, Nick, we don't, you know, I don't know. There just isn't that offensive player who could come in, that second round receiver, and I can say, what kind of fantasy impact is this guy going to have? With, you know, with the defense, it's more about the unit, obviously. So I can't really tie fantasy into this one the way that I would like to. So I guess I'll just end on this. Any chance Cowboys make a trade for Aaron Rodgers? Because I just feel like I should be asking everyone I talk to at this point.
I would say no to that. I would say no. You know. There's a lot of cuss words around that people say, and there's all, you know, bad words start with different letters, but the T word, that's not what we want to deal with around here. Tampering is not a good word that we ever like to mess around with. Talking about another player, and you know, is never went. No, I don't see that happening. Mainly because of that press conference we had with Dak Prescott about a month ago. I think he's the guy. So,
sure.
But if he does get traded, I hope it's to an AFC team that the Cowboys played this year, so we probably don't have to face it for another 4 to 8 years.
There you go. And when he won't be in the league. Tom Brady might be at that point. But
you never know. You never know about these guys. They're crazy, you know.
I tell you what, though, in all seriousness, obviously, like I knew the way you were going to answer that question, but imagine how interesting that question could have been if Dak was still looking for his new deal.
Yeah, you're right. That would have been interesting. Still tampering, you know, but would have been interesting. you might have drawn the offsides just for a second, but no, yeah. I'm focused on the ball. I'm not gonna go across that line until I see the ball move. No, hut height, not doing that. Nope.
Nick, thank you so much. We'll talk again real soon.
All right, man. See you later.